Sunny ways, my friends. Sunny ways.
Your 16 seconds are up. I'm going to ask you again because nobody believes you when you say you don't know how much money your family has got from the wheat group. You've had a month to look into that. You knew you were going to testify here. Again, how much money total have your brother, mother, and spouse received from this organization? How much?
That information has been publicly shared. I will highlight.
Well, then tell me what it is.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of water out of when we have water bottles out of plastic. Away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles, sort of thing. Sorry?
The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry, that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
Where's the funds?
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean? Oh, Justin, you're awake. You made it. Have a seat. Have a coffee. You need some. Wakey time.
Let's cut that Disney Plus subscription. So we cut it. It's only $13.99 a month that we're saving, but every little bit helps.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
You must know somebody. Yeah, that's all that's coming off. There's nothing else coming off, yeah. I'm not Justin Trudeau here. Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. A little bit of a surprise stream. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Really debating whether or not I should be going live, but hey, we need to talk about what's happening with this so-called Freedom Convoy 2.0, why I've made the statements I made today. I'm not here to defend them. I'm here to more basically be clear. It was a very long video that came out today. If you missed the video, you should go check it out. Maybe check it out after the stream because there's a lot we have to talk about tonight. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is because a lot of people got a mixed message as to what exactly it is I'm talking about, why I was talking about things the way I was, and based on videos we've done last week, where my stance is on what needs to be done to hold our government accountable. I'm going to get into all of that tonight. But first, why don't we just start it out like we always do? Good old-fashioned roll call. I know it's a late night stream, but hey, we've only got about 200 viewers so far on the multi-stream. If you're getting in on YouTube right now, hit a thumbs up. Let's push this out in the algorithm while we wait for people to come in. A lot of people don't understand why we do the roll call. First off, the community loves it. Second of all, it gives people a few minutes to get in here and get ready for the content that's coming their way. So let's jump in with a good old-fashioned roll call. Let me know where you're watching from. And if it's your first time here, make sure to let me know as well. Let's get it going. We'll slow it, or we'll do it quickly tonight. Let's go right away. HUD coming in from Toronto, Ontario. Hope you're doing well, Derek and all. Let's bring it home. I couldn't agree more. We got Mike Freedom Honey joining us from Beaver County. Welcome in Chris Archer from Regina, Saskatchewan. We got Arthur OK coming in from Black Diamond. Becca CRI joining us once again from Lloydminster, Alberta. Let's see. We got OCD coming in from Vaven, BBC. We've got Mike coming in. Mike from Canmore. Welcome in, Mike. I'm sure he likes the Flames. Sean Scotty coming in from Brantford, Ontario. We got Mr. Akamk. Camk. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Coming in from Welland, Ontario. Welcome in. We've got Happy Go Lucky HTD for Life coming in from Vancouver Island, BC. Welcome in. We got Burface coming in from Kamloops. Terry Lee coming in from his garage. Welcome in. We've got Len coming in from Alberta. We've got Cool Maui. I think that is coming in from Cowtown. Welcome in. OAO coming in from Dedmonton. Good old Dedmonton, Alberta. Welcome in. Great to see you here. Ryan Donald coming in Brooks, Alberta. I got fired today. Full moon crazy. Geez, I'm sorry to hear that, Ryan. welcome into the stream, I guess. Hey, Brightside, you don't have to go to bed early because there's nowhere to be tomorrow. I know, a silver lining, right? I'm sorry to hear that. Welcome into the stream. Margaret coming in from Lorette, Manitoba. Welcome in. Great town. Nathaniel coming in from Peace River, Alberta. We got Len coming in from Alberta as well. Reg Porter joining us from good old Spruce Grove, Alberta. Welcome in, everyone. Cold Feet from Calgary. We got Chaos coming in from rural Saskatchewan. We got Sean coming in from North Bay, Ontario. Welcome into the stream. We've got Jacques coming in from Cooper's Casing, Ontario. Welcome in. We got Dave coming in from the Bruce Peninsula. Welcome in. It's great to have you all here. It's 306. We're going to talk about it. It's not a great idea. We're going to talk about why. I really want people to listen as to why. I'm not shitting on what people want to do, but we're going to talk about why. Stick around. This is going to be a positive stream. Melanie coming in from Niagara Falls. We got Trudeau Zakami. Calgary, of course, heading to Sicamous tonight. I'll be listening. Trudeau Zakami, drive safe on those roads. Welcome into the stream. Dawn coming in from Burlington, Ontario. Welcome in. We got KG coming in from Northern Alberta. Keith coming back in from Elkhorn, Manitoba. Another great town. Welcome in. We got Jim coming in from Barrie. We got Shamdog coming in from British Columbia. Brent coming in from, is a Canadian working in Texas. Well, everything's bigger in Texas. Welcome in. It's great to have you here. Remember the Alamo. It's crazy coming in from northern BC. We got Snatch coming in. He's not from Alberta, Quebec. He's coming in from Ontario. Come on, Snatch. OAO. We got you earlier. Bill Joe coming in from London, Ontario. Welcome in. SK coming in from BC. Mary from Mississauga. Aaron in from Red Deer. Who else do we have? Jordan from Picton, Ontario. Welcome in. We've got Stir LMC coming in from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Silver Energy from sunny southern Alberta. Welcome in. Who else do we have here? Northern Mana coming in from St. John, BC. Connie coming in from Saskatchewan. Welcome in. We got Sunshine coming from Montreal. Michael coming in from New Westminster, BC. We got Grant coming in from Deer Run. I know Ariel's saying we got to fight somehow. I'm going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. Look, I think I got a stalker, SJR, coming in from Winnipeg, your hometown. I know I say it all the time. You're not a stalker. I'm just having a joke here. E-Sharp coming in from East Central Saskatchewan, and Amy, once again, from Charlottetown, PEI. I got to get caught up, ladies and gentlemen. I do see everybody else who chimed in again. I don't want to hold the stream out too long. Again, hit those thumbs up if you haven't yet. I know it's not going to be a big crowd stream tonight, but I thought it was important that we get in tonight and talk about today's video, because a lot of people misrepresented today's video. If you were on the channel last week, I was talking about organizing what I was calling the new digital convoy, the essentially a new version of a freedom convoy, but I wanted to call it a digital convoy because essentially what we were talking about was informing the public that it is completely free to join the Liberal Party and have your say in who becomes the next leader of the Liberal Party. I think that everybody in Canada should exercise their right to vote for leaders of the parties. I think that it's part of our constitutional right. We should exercise it, because when we don't become a part of that process, then we allow these parties to choose their leaders through corrupt organizations, corrupt outlets. Ultimately, if they win in the next federal election, whether it's NDP, whether it's Liberal, whether it's the Conservatives, I think it's fair that at least you have a say in who you feel should represent those parties and have your facts straight going into an election, rather than corrupt entities voting those people in. Now, essentially what I was talking about in that process was that, look, the Liberals have used every loophole they can to get through the last 10 years. They've stolen from us. They've lied to us. They've cheated us. They've misused and abused our tax dollars. They've had scandal after scandal. Whenever it comes to any process that should be legally upheld within Parliament, well, Justin Trudeau has another loophole to go through. So I said, well, why don't we turn the key on them for once? Why don't we get large groups of people together and affect who essentially, or at least try to affect who the next leader of the Liberal Party is by choosing the least qualified candidate. I know that means Justin Trudeau, but the next least qualified candidate that really has no business being on that stage, so that we can keep people like Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland out of that running, and essentially put in somebody dumb who has to go up against Pierre Poilievre. I think it would be entertaining. I'm here for the lulz. That's all this was, hey, we can't really do a lot with the proroguing of Parliament. I know There's Canadians challenging that in court. Again, once we know about that, I'll update you guys. But in the meantime, why don't we just enjoy at least that we have some power over that party? That was my suggestion. A lot of people said it's a nothing burger. I know the overlords of other YouTube channels said it was a bad idea. That's up to them. I'm looking at a fun way of doing things that at least we have some kind of say, and some kind of influence on how things happen. Now, I want to point out that a lot of people said it's election interference. No, it's not. In fact, it is not illegal to inform people that they can get party memberships. It is not illegal to discuss with people who should be voted for, because I'm not necessarily influencing that election. We're merely having a discussion. And I hate to break it to you, if you've ever looked at a conservative election, the NDP do it all the time. There's no laws that state that it's election interference. It does not qualify as election interference. So what we were doing was perfectly legal. And the point of a digital quote unquote convoy, I know we're not in vehicles, so it's technically not a convoy. But the whole point of the digital convoy was essentially that the government can't really do anything to stop us. They can't, they can't say, no, you're not allowed, or no, you can't vote, or we're going to invoke the Emergencies Act, because it's just a vote at the end of the day. It's a vote going against who's going to represent the Liberals. Now, there has been news that the Liberals had to change a few things up. You must be a Canadian citizen now instead of somebody who frequents Canada, as they did before. They're trying to avoid any kind of interference from other countries at this point, because MPs are concerned. I know Justin isn't, but MPs are concerned about a lot of shenanigans going on, about people who don't even live here voting. We had instances where people now are being deregistered because they've been registering their pets, their dogs, their cats, their canaries to vote against the Liberals in the next election. I think it's funny again. I find it humorous. Like, call me cynical, call me stupid, whatever you want to. I think it's funny, and maybe that's why I'm happier than you, if you're against it. But let's get into what's really needed to be talked about here. Today, I spoke about the actual Freedom Convoy 2.0, or at least what's been dubbed Freedom Convoy 2.0, that is going on. I believe it is January 22nd to 27th in Ottawa. So this isn't like the original Freedom Convoy where they just said, we're going to go and sit until the government talks to us. We're willing to wait. We're willing to stay. They've actually put dates on this. Whether those dates change or not, I don't know. But the fact of the matter was, this is a bad idea. And I'm going to tell you why. Again, a lot of people thought that because I was suggesting becoming Liberal members to screw with the government, and that I'm against this, that I'm somehow on somebody's payroll. I seen that in the comments. I seen people saying that I'm a Fed, that I just wanted subs, so I said one thing, but I'm doing another. A lot of people, I feel, didn't watch that video to get the full context. So I wanted to have this stream to kind of go into that full context mode so people understand why I'm saying it's a bad idea. If you believe in the Freedom Convoy, the original, there only is one original, often imitated, never duplicated, Freedom Convoy. Those folks who put that together, the folks who are still on trial, by the way, absolute legends. These are legendary individuals. They're heroes. They are people that deserve the utmost respect of Canadians, even though they don't get it. I've said over and over again that Tamara Leach, Chris Barber, Pat King, Tom Marazzo, Keith Wilson, Eva Chipiuk, everybody who was involved, truck drivers who lost their jobs, they have surmounted an unpayable debt to Canadians, from Canadians. We can never pay them back for what they gave up for us. Again, I want you to think about what Tamara Leach has been through in the last 2.5 years. This is a woman who was jailed twice. One of those times was in solitary confinement. Her bank accounts were ripped away. She's not allowed to move. She's not allowed to leave her home unless she's reporting to somebody. She's been silenced by the government until recently. Chris Barber, at risk of losing his business, like many truckers did. Many truckers lost their jobs participating in the Freedom Convoy. We will never see anything on the level and scale that we saw of the Freedom Convoy. The Freedom Convoy was lightning in a bottle, to which we will never see anything on such a grand scale ever again. I can tell you right now that in the I believe it was roughly 22 days or so that the Freedom Convoy was going on. I mean, don't misquote me and say, you got it wrong. Look, during the Freedom Convoy, we were glued to the television day and night. Like, we were at home. My wife was at home. Everything was on lockdown, literally glued to the TV. I was up probably until 3, 4 in the morning every night watching live streams, stuck to the TV. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What turned out in that Freedom Convoy was earth-shattering and disappointing, um, jaw-dropping, catastrophic, all at the same time. The government reared its ugly head and showed us that lawful protest is not welcome in Canada, and that they're prepared to squash Canadian citizens for standing up for what they believe in. They trampled on not just the truckers' rights, but all Canadians' rights on February 14th, 2022. The travesty that I witnessed on television is people were trampled by horses, reporters beaten and shot with tear gas. Female reporters, I might add. People locked up, people having their truck windows smashed, their possessions ruined and destroyed, taken. I remember seeing guys going to their impound lots, finding laptops in their trucks, covered in snow from recording equipment. I believe it was Live at the Shed that pulled their laptop out at the impound lot, and it was covered in snow. All their equipment was destroyed. The truck was destroyed. These are people's livelihoods. But the government of Canada said, we don't want you doing this ever again, so we're going to make an example out of you. They froze the bank accounts of people who donated as little as $10 to support the Freedom Convoy. This was the demonstrations of a dictatorship. And now we have another group saying that they are going to try to pull off something to that level again, demanding an election by storming Parliament Hill. Since the Freedom Convoy, keep in mind that while the Freedom Convoy was there, they'd actually made connections with Ottawa's mayor at the time. There were arrangements in place to move trucks. They were cooperating. They were trying their best to be organized. They were trying their best to have a board, to make decisions as a group, to ensure that everything was kept track of. The biggest problem, I think, in that Freedom Convoy, the biggest thing that dismantled the Freedom Convoy and caused the problems that it did, was money. As soon as millions of dollars came in, as soon as the government saw the funding power of this Freedom Convoy, they got scared. The buzzards started circling as soon as they saw the millions of dollars. Any interest group, anybody who thought they could latch onto the Freedom Convoy, showed up in droves. They started claiming the money belongs to them. I mean, we've got Paul Champ and Zexi Lee still saying they're owed millions of dollars for their hardships. They're never going to get it. That money, by the way, is still sitting in escrow. Aside from the money that was taken from some individuals I'm not going to mention on this channel that used Bitcoin and said that they dispersed it even though they didn't. Some people have found proof of that, by the way. The money that the main convoy raised was sitting in escrow. But as soon as you crowdfund like that, as soon as you start bringing in millions and millions and millions of dollars, when you show the federal government that you can fundraise more money than they can, that's scary to them. They figured truckers would eventually get tired, they'd leave, they'd pull back because they'd run out of money, they'd run out of food, they'd run out of fuel. They tried to take the fuel. We all know the story. But they just kept coming back. And as soon as the money was there, they tried to shut that down, came back on another way. We will never see anything like that again. But the money is the one thing that ultimately destroyed the Freedom Convoy, I think, in my opinion. and push the government. Now, since then, the government has gone into a complete lockdown protocol in terms of making sure this doesn't happen again. They don't want a protest on this scale happening ever again in Canada. They want it to be perfectly clear that they are our masters and we're just small plebs walking the earth to essentially be a battery farm, to pay our taxes, to provide them with the money they need to live their corrupt, lavish lifestyles. I've said it before on stream, they're a mob. They're the new version of the mafia. But what we have now with this new convoy, I'm going to share this because this is what was shown on the video today from Tom Marazzo. Very good friend, by the way. Very smart individual. I'll point that out. He says, this woman has been stalking and harassing Chris, Pat, and Tamara for months and is now trying to put them in jeopardy of their bail conditions. Please do not tag any of them if it relates to the protest activity in Canada. If you see anybody do this, DM them and ask them to take it down immediately. You see down here, and I'm going to click on this image, Legally Purdy Media. Now, I discussed this individual on the video. I know firsthand who this is. And I have spoken with her. And I have said flat out, people say, oh, he's calling out people, he's bullying people. This woman is actively trying to frame Tamara and Chris by tagging them, by bringing them into this, by sharing their names on this event, which they have nothing to do with. Because if things go awry, she feels snubbed. She's made it very clear that she intended to grow her platform purely to mooch funds off of those who donate to those who cover Freedom Convoy, to those who have bolstered their numbers from supporting the Freedom Convoy. She's openly said it's a grift. She has no desire to report factual news. She wants to shit disturb and make money while doing it. Shout out to everyone heading to Ottawa for the Freedom Convoy 2.0. I'm sure you're all super grateful for the inspiration that Chris Barber, Tamara Leach, and Pat King provided with their leadership, counseling, and use of social media during the 2022 Freedom Convoy. Now, another ex-user by the name of, I think it's Puck Daddy. I don't know his name. The guy's, he's irrelevant. He's a nobody. Called me out on X today because I mentioned him in the video, saying this guy's a bigger problem for things like this Freedom Convoy 2.0. But by saying the inspiration that those individuals provided with their leadership, counseling, and use of social media during the convoy, as soon as you say that use of social media, this is exactly why she's tweeting it out. This is exactly why she's urging people to go to this. She wants to be there and bolster her numbers. Everybody wants to have their phone out. Everybody wants to live stream. Everybody wants to get out there and say, look, everybody, look what we're doing. Look how patriotic we are. Look at us fighting for Canada. Look at everything we're doing. It says they'd be grateful because, after all, they're the leaders of the Freedom Convoy movement. Be sure, here it is in bold, be sure to tag them in all of your posts next week. Why would Legally Purdy want to make sure that Chris, Tamara, and Pat King are all tagged in every post while people storm Parliament Hill demanding an election? I don't know if you know this. Pat King's sentencing is coming up. Tamara Leach is being adorned with a Carter application. If you don't know what a Carter application is, well, it's being tied to Chris Barber. No, Derek, this live stream was not scheduled. I decided to come back on. I just decided to come on. Essentially, what's going to happen to Chris and Tamara is that if you don't know about the Carter application, what's happened is they've pulled, lawyers on the prosecution have pulled a TikTok of Chris Barber where they have said allegedly that after the injunction was filed for truckers to stop using their horns, that Chris Barber put out a TikTok saying, hey guys, don't lay off the horns, keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. It's basically the video. I know which video they're talking about. It's out of context, but they're using that to say that Chris Barber was inciting people to disobey the law. And because Tamara Leach was labeled as the quote unquote leader of the Freedom Convoy and worked alongside Chris Barber, that it's kind of what a Carter application does is says if Chris Barber's guilty of that, and because Tamara Leach was conspiring with him and working with him, she can be charged for the same charges that he was, essentially throwing them each in jail. So why would Legally Purdy want you to go to this protest next week and tag Chris, Tamara, and Pat in every single post they put out? Does she really believe that they're going to be proud of what's going on? She's doing it because she wants them to be held accountable for what's going on. She wants the courts to show this protest, no matter how big or small it becomes, that, hey, these individuals, they're secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes. They're not full organizers, but all these people were tagging them. This is what they've caused. This is what their Freedom Convoy caused. It caused a bunch of people to continue emulating what they did by building up another convoy. They're idolized. They terrorized the streets. If you think that a large group of people going to Parliament Hill with their torches and pitchforks demanding an election, first off, if you think it's going to get anywhere, it will not. It will not. The police will not put up with it. The government will not put up with it. Why? We joked about it on Friday night streams. You're not carrying Palestinian flags. They will allow any protest in this country that has nothing to do with Canada because they don't want to be racist. They want a virtue signal. They want a distraction. But I guarantee you that the people going to Parliament Hill from the 22nd to the 27th are not going to be peaceful. They're going to be angry, fed up, pissed off Canadians. They're going to be there to cause a problem. And Legally Purdy wants them tagged, wants Tamara, Chris, and Pat tagged in every post so that the courts can label them as co-conspirators, label them as inspiration for this demonstration, so that when the judge has to look at this Carter application for Tamara and Chris, so that when they look at Pat King, they say, look what you've done. Look what you've caused. Look what you've encouraged people to do. People aren't stopping. And even if Chris and Tamara say, hey, we had nothing to do with this. I mean, Chris Barber has put out tweets saying this is a bad idea. Legally Purdy wants to make sure they go behind bars because they wanted nothing to do with her. They know what she's all about. It's sabotage. And this protest is a trap. It's a trap. If we go to Parliament Hill angry, pissed off, aggressive, demanding an election, I understand people are mad. I understand people are fed up. I understand people are at their wits' end. But this is where people got today's video confused with what I was saying about joining the Liberal Party and having some fun screwing around with who gets labeled the next leader of Canada. That is something that is not unlawful. That is not something that can have any of us face any criminal charges for. That's merely just some fun in the background, so to speak. We were finding ways to still have some form of control because Justin's been sticking it to us for 10 years. This is terrorism. At least that's what it's being set up to look like. The people going to this protest, you have to remember that the Freedom Convoy, when they went, they had a board, they had logistics people, they had planners, they had lawyers, they had specific people set out to do specific jobs and record everything. Everything. Who spoke to police, who talked to reporters, press conferences, who handled money, who handled legal. They had it all set up in a very short period of time. They were organized. What this is being called for is not organization. This is warfare. And I'm not saying people don't have a right to be mad. And I'm not saying you can't go. I'm saying that I feel the people that are cheering this on, and the people that are promoting this have no idea what they're stepping into. If these people go to Parliament Hill and cause a disturbance, do you think Justin Trudeau is going to say, "Oh, let's resume Parliament. Let's get everybody back in here. Let's have an election. The people are mad. The people have spoken. People have made a statement. There's no hiding from it anymore." I'd love it if they did that, but we all know the reality. You're going to see Melanie Joly, Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh. You're going to see them all on the news saying, this is exactly why we've prorogued Parliament. This is exactly why Pierre Poilievre can't be the next Prime Minister of Canada. He backs these kind of individuals. These angry, hostile individuals that are just demanding elections, that are storming the Parliament grounds. And again, I'm telling you, there's no way people go demanding an election and are peaceful. All we're doing is feeding their narrative. We're feeding their narrative. We're giving them the ammunition that they need. We're winning right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is where people got what I was suggesting with the Liberal Party screwed around. There were so many comments on that video today saying, Derek, I joined the Liberal Party because you told me to, and now you don't want this freedom convoy. You're a traitor. You don't care about Canada. You're not fighting for Canada. Bullshit. I love this country more than anything else, next to my wife and kids. I bleed for this country. I die for this country. And I die for your right to have your voice. And that's why I'm not saying who should and should not go to the protest. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. It's not safe, and it's not going to benefit us. If you want to do damage to the government, you have to, if you want to do it like the Freedom Convoy, you have to be organized. You have to plan. You have to have logistics. You have to have people together that are prepared to do the legwork. You have to plan. You can't just rush in guns blazing. See, here it is. You're afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I don't want to undo all the work that's been done in this country to get to where we are. We're months away from an election. So what's the point? What's the point? Don't let fear control you. You're too happy-go-lucky. It has nothing to do with that. See, this is where I'm saying people are getting mad about it. I came up with, well, I displayed an alternative. Now, I showed, let's get into this. And here's why it's a bad idea. I brought in this letter, and I said, somebody from the Freedom Convoy put this letter together. And they asked me, let's zoom in a little bit. They preferred I didn't say who they were because the message was what was more important. And a lot of people said, "Oh, I know it was so and so. Oh, it was probably a lawyer that drafted this up or something else." No, you guys want to know who wrote this? I'll tell you, because they said they didn't care if I said who it was. They just wanted the message to be more important. Tom Marazzo put this letter together. This is why going back is a bad idea. What Tom has asked for in this letter, what he is saying, I'm going to read through this portion of the letter again. And I want everybody to listen to what he's saying. Where's Mrs. Fringe? She works tomorrow. That's why she comes on Fridays. She works during the week. Sorry she's not here tonight. I want to read this letter from here. Mike's got it right here on the head. It'll only hurt Chris and Tamara's court case. The Freedom Convoy OGs have distanced themselves from it, and it'll fail miserably. It's where it's going to fail is the aggressive stance. If you go to Parliament Hill demanding blood, it's going to be ours, not theirs. Their bills, their rules, their laws, they all benefit them, not us. And people say, well, that makes you weak and fear. No, I'm going to be smart here. Because what Tom offers in this letter is an actual solution. And I think that his idea is far better than Freedom Convoy 2.0. So let's get into what Tom suggests and why it would be more effective and a better use of our resources if we wanted to continue this fight. Let's take a look here. He goes on to talk about the Freedom Convoy and what it did and what it stood for. Okay, so January 2025, Canada remains under the leadership of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who has recently prorogued Parliament until March 2025. Additionally, a federal election has been scheduled for October 2025. That's the deadline. Now, we've heard that a definitive May 5th date has been put forward so far. Now, whether or not that comes to fruition until it's set in stone, we'll just say a potential May 5th date has been announced. There is a second Freedom Convoy being considered with the goal of demanding an immediate federal election. In 2022, the original Freedom Convoy protested for 24 days in Ottawa against federal COOF mandates, seeking their removal for all Canadians. In response, Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act, leading to a police crackdown on protesters, including arrests and asset seizures. Currently, various protests are ongoing throughout Canada, notably from Palestinian groups and, in the past, related to Ukraine-Russia war. However, public sentiment suggests that many Canadians are weary of large-scale protests, particularly anything resembling another Freedom Convoy in Ottawa, which is what it's saying is that when you look at them blocking the roads, when you look at them praying in the streets, Canadians are exhausted with protests. The reason the Freedom Convoy worked was because we were all told to sit in our houses for 2 years. And we were told, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We have to deal with this bullshit every weekend. Every week, there's people flooding the streets with their flags, burning Canadian flags. And the government isn't doing anything because it's a distraction. It's there to move our eyes away from the BS that they're pulling. That's the only reason they're not intervening. Many Canadians desire a reprieve from turmoil, but they are not getting it due to continued unrest from various activist movements and the instability of the government. Additionally, Liberal supporters remain loyal and do not support an early election. So here's what his strategic shift is: a referendum instead of an election demand. I've talked about this on stream. I've talked about this in many videos where I said it in today's video. This is why I keep saying that when the when the Conservative Party comes to your door and says, we'd really like your vote in the next federal election, we have to start asking them what laws are going to be put in place to ensure that Justin Trudeau 2.0 can't come in and do this to us again. When are you going to give power back to us instead of all this power that rides on you? And Tom gets into that in his letter here. One of the critical lessons from the convoy is the importance of having a clear and legally sound objective. The convoy was not there to demand an election, which they did not, but call for an end to the mandates. Canada has no direct mechanism for voters to demand an election. Only members of parliament have the authority to trigger one, which again, Jagmeet Singh has held the country hostage for 2 years with his Liberal coalition. Canadians are helpless. We don't have any. Again, and I said it in the video today, when I had Garnet Genis on the channel, the first thing I asked him was, we have recall legislation in Alberta. You're an Alberta MP. What do you think about the federal government instituting recall legislation for federal government so that we're not stuck with this problem in the future? Garnet Genis's answer? He chuckled and laughed and said, well, we're not going to introduce that because you'd have people getting recalled every 10 minutes. Doesn't that say something about our government if people are recalling them every 10 minutes? Maybe you're the problem, not us. Like, what Tom's suggesting here is that instead of going and saying, get Trudeau out, we want an election, we just want another guy in here, he's saying, let's go and demand more. Let's go and demand, instead of an election, they get back to work and they put forward a bill that actually protects Canadians. It says here, instead of demanding an election outright, the movement should advocate for a referendum on whether voters want an election. This approach, now here's where I'm saying this method Tom is suggesting, far more effective than going to Parliament Hill and screaming like a lunatic. This approach would provide a democratic and structured method to gauge public sentiment. It would address concerns from liberal supporters who argue that protests like the convoy aim to overthrow the government. That's all that's going to happen when you go to Parliament Hill. They're going to say, you're here to overthrow the government. You're here to cause problems. You're here to cause chaos. And again, you're going to have a group of pissed off, angry Canadians on Parliament Hill. It's not going to be civil. That's the first thing they're going to say. It'll increase the legitimacy by aligning the protest with constitutional processes rather than perceived populist upheaval. So what they're saying is that we're showing up saying, hey, we're mad, but the laws don't work for us anymore. We want to change in the laws instead of overthrow the government. We're asking for change of law, a referendum that allows us to decide when we go to the polls, not the government. Far more effective. A major issue observed during the Freedom Convoy was the absence of a clearly articulated written statement of demands and objectives presented to the government, media, and the police. The convoy was calling for an end to all mandates. Yet because there was no formal written statement, the mainstream media was able to interpret and misrepresent the goals of the protest, often in a negative light. You guys remember them saying Russia, Russia all the time? Like, tell me that didn't happen. Never use the word manifesto due to its negative connotations. Develop a publicly available document that states the grievances, justifications, goals, and expected outcomes for Canadians. Again, if we were to do that referendum, it's laid out. It's available for the media at any time. That if they say, look at these insurrectionists. You remember what happened January 6th with Donald Trump and Joe Biden? You don't think that's what they're going to call this when everybody shows up on Parliament Hill? Yelling election now? They're going to say they're insurrectionists. This would be something that's available saying Canadians are just fed up. We want laws to benefit us. We want to decide when the next election is, not the federal government. Here's our mission statement. Here's our talking points for mainstream media. Here's our pressers. Feel free to write about them in your articles, because as soon as they misrepresent your words when you have these written statements, you can sue them. You can sue them because you gave them a packet showing your mission statement. So they can't go around calling anybody Russian influence. It's, Brett, you're an idiot. I'm not scared to step up. I'm talking about something rational versus something. I love the trolls that are in here. And you know what's funny? I haven't seen any of these people in the chat ever before. I got a feeling these are Puff Daddies or whoever that guy is, people coming in here. I'm not even going to entertain that shit anymore, because you can't look at this and tell me that this is stupid in contrast to just marching on Parliament Hill and looking like being labeled an insurrectionist. Because that's what's going to happen. If you don't think that's going to happen, then you need to go get a CAT scan. Ensure multiple channels of distribution, social media, physical copies, email campaigns, so that the mainstream media is forced to report on the stated goals rather than creating their own misleading narrative. Again, you can sue the pants off of them if they go against your mission statement. You'll have published documents showing what your goals are. Establish message discipline among all participants to prevent mission creep, where different groups dilute or confuse the original message by adding unrelated demands. We've seen this during the Freedom Convoy. There were other groups of people all of a sudden coming in saying that they had different demands, that they were organizers when they weren't organizers. It was chaos. You need people who come in to be told you have to agree to these terms, then you're a part of the convoy. If not, we don't want you here. Paid trolls? Yeah, I'm willing to bet they're paid trolls. Oh, it's Puck Daddy? I don't understand why you'd even want that name given the Diddy stuff that's going on. Why would you even want that name? God. Maybe there's a reason for that. I'm not going to say anything because that's defamatory. So here's the legal considerations as to why going to Parliament Hill is a bad idea. And people didn't see this. People didn't see this in today's video. In April of 2022, Doug Ford passed Bill 100, formerly known as Keeping Ontario Open for Business Act. This legislation was enacted to prevent disruptions at critical transportation infrastructure in Ontario, particularly in response to the Freedom Convoy. It introduces strict measures to limit vehicle-based protests and impose severe penalties for violations. So again, I'm not saying that it's going to be vehicles that go to Parliament Hill. I think they're just calling it a Freedom Convoy 2.0. I don't think they're bringing trucks. Because the idea apparently is just to storm the parliament. Individuals are prohibited from blocking access to, existing from, or the regular use of protected transportation infrastructure if such actions disrupt economic activity or public safety. It applies to whether a person is acting alone or with others, including the use of vehicles or their means. Expectations exist for minor or easily avoidable disruptions. It is illegal to knowingly assist another person in actions that contravene the law, such as providing supplies, fuel, or materials that support blockades. So again, you're on Parliament Hill. This isn't even with a vehicle. If you're out there supplying them with different tools, different things, speakers, audio equipment, any of that stuff that causes a blockade or could be perceived as a blockade, they have the right to take it down. And here's the problem. They'll face fines up to $100,000 or imprisonment for up to 1 year or both. And I said it in today's video. Do you think if they prosecute anybody at these protests, they're going to go easy on them? That they're going to say, here's a $5,000 fine, no jail time? They're going to screw with everybody because this law was put in place for a reason. They wanted us to have no power to do this again. Tom highlights here to never break the law. You're protesting for a political solution to a political problem, not a police solution to a political problem. That's important to remember because a lot of people let their emotions get the better of them when they're at these protests. And again, angry Canadians that are mad at Justin Trudeau going to Parliament Hill. Law enforcement agencies will seek to gather intelligence on protest organizers through police liaison officers. We've seen it again, the Coots 4. These officers act as intermediaries, but ultimately report back to their chain of command, contributing to an operational plan that could be used to dismantle the protest. Recommendations. Always have a lawyer present for any meetings or discussions with law enforcement. Document every interaction. Maintain detailed notes and recordings where legally possible. Refuse to engage with police unless an elected official is present. Ensure that discussions remain political rather than being framed as a law enforcement issue. Exercise the right to remain silent when necessary. Protesters are seeking a political resolution, not a police-mediated settlement. So here was Tom's suggestion. Is this for me or somebody else? Because I'm gonna start getting my mods to kick trolls out. I'm not gonna do this. Anybody who's gonna tell me that this is a weaker plan than storming Parliament Hill, you're just here to cause shit. You're just here to throw everything upside down. Okay. Here's Tom's plan. Given the prorogation of Parliament and the heightened legal risks in Ottawa, the center of gravity for future action should shift to the 211 Liberal and NDP MP offices across Canada. This decentralization strategy provides several advantages. So if we were to spread out across Canada, and occupy these, not occupy, protest in front of, in large numbers of these offices demanding an election, a referendum. Far more effective. And Tom outlines why. It disperses law enforcement resources, making it harder for authorities to suppress the movement, versus Parliament Hill. If you're going to tell me otherwise, get your head checked. It engages local communities directly, increasing grassroots support. It avoids direct confrontation with the federal government in Ottawa, reducing the risk of severe crackdowns. Again, this becomes a provincial matter at this point. The feds can't intervene. It avoids, however, a smaller contingent should still maintain a presence on Wellington Street in front of Parliament, ensuring visibility in the nation's capital while avoiding unnecessary escalation. So again, it's not saying people shouldn't be on Parliament Hill, but it's just a small group. Not mass crowds, not people blocking traffic, causing chaos. Conclusion, never break the law. You have the right to peacefully assemble. And again, I've never said you don't. But when you look at this plan, in contrast to clogging up Ottawa, again, demanding an election, can anybody in the chat tell me if they think the government won't label them as insurrectionists? I give it less than 24 hours. If this convoy, if this so-called Freedom Convoy 2.0 breaks out, if it gets thousands of people there, I give it less than 24 hours before the mainstream media are calling them insurrectionists and comparing it to January 6th. Brett, who cares? Yeah, see, you're just then enjoy your handcuffs. Enjoy screwing up everything that we've done. Like, we're at a point again where we are actually winning right now. Trudeau's on the ropes. May 5th. If a May 5th election comes forward at this point, that's less than 4 months away. Well, roughly 4 months away. So why are we getting all worked up about it at this point? I could see it if Justin pulled something where he magically was able to give himself another 4 years. I could see it then. I could see people saying enough is enough. And I've said it before on live stream, ladies and gentlemen. You can push an animal into the corner so much before it finally scratches back. And what we're seeing here are people doing that. You're seeing it in the chat unfold as we speak. Will Tom post this letter? No. Here's the thing about Tom. Tom's got his own legal stuff going on. Part of the reason he didn't want me mentioning his name, where he said he didn't care eventually, was because he's got his own stuff going on. He's trying to be as much help as he can because he cares about what happens to Chris, what happens to Tamara, what happens to Pat, what happens to anybody who's still being prosecuted in terms of the Freedom Convoy. But he said the message of this was more important than his name being attached to it. And I agree. Tom Marazzo is a smart, smart man. He has my respect. And he's one of the smartest people tied to the Freedom Convoy that I've met to date. And I shouldn't say it like it's kind of like picking your favorite kid. I've met the entire board of the Freedom Convoy, and they're all amazing people. They were very well calculated, very smart individuals. They knew what they were doing. These guys talking about this rushing of Parliament Hill, it's just a social media post. It's not organized. It's going to fold. CR with a $5 super chat. Tinfoil Hat thought maybe this convoy is a government ploy to declare us all insurrectionists so an election can't be held. Possibly. Anybody ever think of that? You've got all these feds, all these butt buddies of P. Diddy, Puck Daddy, whatever in here saying, who cares? Let's go anyways. Let's just do it. Let's go demand blood. I can't believe I have this many people in here trolling the chat, upset, not saying Two Flips. Two Flips has been here for a while. He can legally postpone until 2026. Why do you trust them? I don't think he will step down. You're confident, but we are not. No, it's not a matter of confidence. Let me re-explain it. Because again, this is the reason we wanted this stream. And I do appreciate Two Flips' comment. I have no problem with criticism so long as it's in the right form. We're having a discussion here. Discussions are warranted. It has nothing to do with confidence. What I'm saying is that since the Freedom Convoy, we've had an Emergency Act Commission to justify the Emergencies Act, but flopped on its head, even though technically we lost. The public knows the truth. The conservatives, whether you like them or hate them, have gained as much as they have in the polls because people are looking at the Liberals and the NDP now. They're looking at the corruption. They're looking at everything they've done. And they're saying, we can't do this anymore. What you have to remember when we go into elections is that a small pocket of Ontario and Quebec decide who's in charge of the country. And if these loonies go on to Parliament Hill, swinging their flags, screaming, labeled insurrectionists, and they give Justin and the Liberals exactly what they wanted. It villainizes the right. It undoes everything we've done in the last 2.5 years to gain ground over the Liberals. So all of a sudden, people in Toronto, people in Hamilton, people in Montreal, they all start looking at what happened on Parliament Hill, and they all start going, oh, maybe I don't want to support Pierre anymore. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe Mark Carney is a good guy to vote for. Right? Don't think it can happen? Look at the support Joe Biden got on January 6th, and they BS'd the whole thing. There was no insurrection. There was no people storming the Capitol. They opened the door for them. They allowed them inside. There are still people in jail over that, and they didn't do anything wrong. This is all by design. And like the super chat said earlier, what if this is being planned so that they don't have to call an election? Do you think all these guys in the chat, all these people saying, let's go anyways, do you think they'd still have that opinion if all of a sudden we found out that Justin got to stick around and an election was delayed outright? Would we feel accomplished? If these actions landed Tamara Leach in jail for 10 years alongside Chris Barber and they had nothing to do with it, would we feel good about ourselves? Would we say we did the right thing? Well, at least we had our voices heard. At least we had 10 minutes of glory, right? Or do we look at the best calculated way to demand change? Tom's letter outlines a referendum because it doesn't just give us the election, it allows us to decide future elections. It demands change. If we got this referendum, it would essentially be recall legislation for Canadians. Anytime the government wants to screw with us, we have the ability, if we can form together and get the signatures or whatever's required to call an election, we can do so. We get power back. This sounds way more appealing than storming Parliament Hill. And I'm just as mad as the people that are going to storm Parliament Hill. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying there's a smarter way to do it. And Tom seems to have a pretty good idea. If anyone who supported the original Freedom Convoy also helped shift the Liberal leadership race, we could hand select the next Liberal to run against Pierre. That was the idea. And that's what a lot of people got mad at when I said, let's all get Liberal Party memberships. Let's do it. Let's troll them for once. Let's put their stupid laws against them that they put in place to get a free ride so that they could corruptly pick who runs for the Liberal Party. Let's flip that on its head and have a laugh. Throw their stupid laws back in their face. And people said, "Oh, Derek, you're fixing an election. It's electoral influence. It's illegal." It's not illegal. I looked. We checked. There's no legal law saying that we can't tell people who to vote for a leadership race. It's election interference in a federal election. This is a leadership race. It's different rules. Apparently you can cancel your Liberal membership anyway when you're done. Yeah, well then do it then. We're so close to getting rid of Trudeau. I hope a new convoy doesn't ruin everything. It's what we were talking about doing on this channel was very innocent in contrast to what is being talked about happening on Parliament Hill at the end of January for 5 days. Do you know how to do it? Yes, I'll show you right now. In fact, let me go to the. It's very simple, guys. We'll go to the website. I'll enter it right here, and then I'll post it up on the on the screen for you. We go to liberal.ca/register. That's it. You go to this page. You can chip in now. You can just continue. You can just hit the X here, the top of the page. Here it is. These 4 boxes, and I've been told your mobile phone number does not have to be added to it. So 3 of these boxes, your first name, your last name, and your email. You go to the next, you have to fill in your address, but again, that's so that they can verify you're a Canadian citizen. That's it. And they send you an email saying you're now a registered Liberal, which means when they have the leadership race, when they have the vote for who's the next leader of the Liberal Party, you get a say. We all get a say. And I think it would be hilarious as hell if somebody like Anita Anand runs in this race, or Mark Garrettson, which he's already said he's not, but somebody of that caliber, and we vote them all in. So that somebody like I don't know, Mark Miller or any of those guys have to run against Pierre in the next federal election. Like, wouldn't you have your popcorn out for that? Wouldn't you find it funny and hilarious? Somebody who's that delusional, who's that unhinged, has to run against Pierre. I think it would be bloody hilarious. It's that easy. I'm going to put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to do this. And as the candidates are announced, we're going to start talking about who's the best one to vote for. We're going to do it here on the channel. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure you do that so you don't miss when we announce that. But there's the address down at the bottom of the screen for anybody watching the stream afterwards, liberal.ca/register. It literally takes 2.5 minutes to sign up and do it. Chandra Ira literally is campaigning against the carbon tax. Well, he's not going to get the vote. He's not going to get it. It's Stinger saying Anand is out. Freeland is about to jump on. Well, either way, I believe all candidates have to announce by I think it's the end of the month, somewhere in the 20s of January. It's like either the 24th or 26th. I think they have to announce. Hellhunter saying the best battles are won calm and collected without being blinded by anger. They are using lawfare, and we need to use other responsible means that will still make a point. We will win if we're wise. That's all I'm talking about here. That's all I'm talking about. I think if Justin Trudeau is stupid enough, I've heard he might run, even though he's being kicked out of the Liberal Party, or being told to leave. I shouldn't say kicked out. They can't kick him out. If Justin Trudeau was stupid enough to put his name in there, I say we all vote for Justin, just so he has to run against Pierre and get absolutely demolished. What if there's no Wazoo? How will we choose the worst out of them? Quite frankly, as long as look, we know the Liberals don't stand a snowball's chance in hell. But what you're going to see, even if there's a May 5th election date called, is you're going to see whoever takes over starting to announce all these wonderful things that they're going to do for Canadians. We're going to give rebates. We're going to lower taxes. We're going to, Justin's gone. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine now. Their job is to convince that lower pocket of Ontario and Quebec to vote for them. That's it. They don't care about the rest of the country. If Mark Carney wins the race or Chrystia Freeland, you're not going to see them campaigning out west. You're not going to see them in Newfoundland, Labrador. You're going to see them in Ontario and Quebec. Hands down, I guarantee it. Those are the numbers that are critical for them to gain. So they're going to start promising the universe to their lefty woke mob, saying, look, Justin's gone. We're going to keep it sunny ways, ladies and gentlemen. And do I think they're going to beat Pierre? No. I think they're too far, too gone. It's a sinking ship. I don't think they're going to win, but nonetheless, I don't really care who we vote for, so long as it's not Mark Carney or Chrystia Freeland. They are all just Trudeau. But what I'm saying is that as long as it isn't Carney or Freeland, I think we're okay. Stephen, I don't have anything set up to bring anybody on the live right now. I apologize. No, I won't be able to bring you on the live. We can maybe set something up at a later date if that's the case, if there's something that needs to be discussed. Look, I'm all for solution. I'm all for a better Canada. That's all we all want here. That's all we're all pushing for right now. We're all like-minded individuals. We all want Justin to go. We all want no carbon tax. We all want lower income taxes. We want higher pay rates. We want our dollar to be worth something. We're all frothing at the mouth for it. But as it was stated earlier, going to Parliament Hill angry and demanding an election is just going to hurt us. And if you're sensible, if you have common sense, if you really think about it, it's the wrong decision to make. We have to be tactical. We have to be precise with what we're doing if we're going to do anything. Tom's idea sounds much better than storming Parliament Hill. Anybody who wants to call me out and say that I'm a coward or I'm weak or I don't want, like, go ahead, call me whatever you want. I really don't care, because all it tells me is you lack the intelligence to understand what we're actually talking about here. You're just a testosterone-driven, angry mob at that point. I'm sorry, I can't have respect for anybody who hears these talking points and still says going to Parliament Hill is a good idea. I'm sorry, I just can't get on with it. Agree to disagree, I guess. Right? But I will never tell you you can't go. You have the right to protest. I'm asking that you be a little more reserved about that right and do it the right way is all. That's all I'm saying. The push to register Liberal is disturbing. Why is that? Why is it so disturbing? Realistically, you have to understand that becoming a member of any party, whether you vote for them or not, whether you like them or support them or not, it's part of your rights as a Canadian. Don't you want to say in who represents those parties? Don't you want to, like, we're not just talking about Justin Trudeau here. Like, we're talking about the ability to decide who those leaders are and what they're bringing to the table. You should be informed all the time. Like, what you have to realize is that what the Freedom Convoy did, and while we're talking about convoys, they brought in a whole, I know it's a troll, John, I get it. But what they brought in, listen to me and follow me here. Because a lot of people think I just talk out of my ass. Sometimes I do. Ask my wife. Ask Mrs. Fringe. Sometimes I do. What the Freedom Convoy did was it brought a whole new swath of people into politics. People that weren't involved in politics before. People that didn't care. There were people out there that didn't vote before the Freedom Convoy. People that didn't really have a horse in the race. I know so many Westerners that said, I never voted before because I didn't think my vote mattered. Because of the way the elections are set up. Now I'm voting. I want my voice heard. I want to be involved. I want to know what's going on with politics. I want to know what's going on with the parties. If you're a member of these parties, you get all their information. You get the information on who's running. I'm not saying that they're honest with you, but you get the facts. You get to understand who is representing these parties. Where do they come from? What jobs did they hold before they became leaders or representatives of this party? What are their intentions to run for this party? What are they trying to do? Have your say in those votes, because I'll tell you right now, if we were better educated, think about this for a minute. Think about it for a minute. If we were members of the NDP party and we'd heard Jagmeet Singh talking about all the wonderful things he was going to do for the NDP way back when, and we heard his propositions, because we've heard them multiple times. If we all had memberships to the NDP, do you think we would have voted Jagmeet Singh in? Do you think that a common sense Canadian would have looked at his propositions and said, that's a leader? That's a guy that should run the NDP? That's the reason you should have those memberships so that you're educated at least, even if they win. You understand their policy. You understand what the party's goals are. You understand what their mandate is, what they want. We have the right to be members of those parties so that we can exercise our right to having a voice in this country, even if you feel that voice doesn't matter. Fine, I'm naive. Fine, I have hope, I guess. But I look at a system and say, if we're never going to use that system, then what right do we have to complain when it's broken? What right? See? The system is not put in place to empower the people. Then we have to change it. That's what Tom was talking about with a referendum. We're not going in there saying, just get Justin Trudeau out of here. We're going to all of these offices and protesting to say, you need to do better. You need to change the laws. You need to give us the power to decide when we go to the polls, not you guys. You work for us. I don't see the problem with that because we stand to get more value. If we had a successful protest Canada-wide, let's say we organize this, and we still should, whether or not there's an election May 5th. You protest all the offices nationwide. You get people together, you get the logistics together, the legal together, everybody together to make sure that it's done properly. And you get the numbers, and you all protest the 211 offices across the country. And you say that we want referendum. We want the right to decide when you guys go to the polls. And we're successful. Are you telling me that's not worth as much as just booting Justin Trudeau out the door? What happens if Justin Trudeau's son runs in the next decade? The next 15 years? Trudeau's son decides, yeah, Dad did it well. I'm going to go line my pockets next. They get in with a puppet crowd of WEF supporters, and before you know it, Justin Trudeau's son is the next Prime Minister of Canada. Wouldn't you love it if all these years back when his dad was in power, we put a referendum in place that says that we can go to the polls if we get the signatures, if we have the reasons, instead of somebody like another Jagmeet Singh coming in, holding us hostage and saying you can't go to the polls. We can just outvote every single time. We can put through crappy laws that are going to make your lives miserable and unaffordable. We can destroy your economy. We can ruin your lives, and you have no power even though you just keep paying your taxes. You're just a battery farm for us. Again, take what I just said and tell me that asking for a referendum vote versus storming Parliament is a bad idea. I'd rather get the referendum. I don't know what else to say. Anybody that wants to call me out on social media and say I'm the bad guy or that I don't care about Canada or that, I believed you when you said get the Liberal memberships, but now I don't because you don't support storming Parliament Hill. I don't support stupidity. I support your frustration. I support your anger. I support why you want to storm Parliament Hill. But what you're talking about is stupid. I can't support stupidity. I'm sorry. Not sorry. I love Canada. I'll say it again. I love my country. I love everything it stands for. I love that we're not American yet. I love that we have fantastic, prospects ahead of us if our government wants to work with us. I love that we have a booming oil and gas sector. I love that we have liquid natural gas. I love that we have one of the largest oil deposits in the world that could make this country filthy, stinking rich if our government just took advantage of it. I love that we have farmers that bust their asses and provide some of the best food on the planet. If you've never been to Alberta or had Alberta beef, you don't know what I'm talking about. We have some of the best manufacturing in the world. We have the cleanest standards in the world. We used to have one of the best GDPs in the world. And everybody wants to throw it away to be pissed off on Parliament Hill. Fine, go do it. Have fun. But I'll tell you one thing. Chris Barber is an amazing man. I have the utmost respect for him. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for him. And if I wasn't on here defending his right to stay out of jail, I'd be doing him a terrible disservice as a friend. Tamara Leach is an amazing friend, an amazing person. I know a lot of people watching this stream have not had the pleasure of meeting her, but I'm telling you, she's like everybody's mom. She always just worries about everyone else. She never puts herself ahead of anybody else. She's the kindest, most sincerest, gentle person I've ever met in my life. And if there's one thing I can't stand seeing on this planet, it's watching her cry. And I would be doing her a terrible disservice as a friend if I was not defending for these folks to not, at the very minimum, tag them in these tweets. To keep them out if you're dumb enough to go to Parliament Hill. Don't make them go to jail for your stupidity. Don't give the courts another reason to label us. For those who gave up their freedoms, and keep in mind, Chris and Tamara's freedoms have been locked up since 2022. Their pandemic didn't end. And if we're going to spit back in their face and say, well, we just were mad and wanted to go anyways, enjoy your jail sentence. What an unfitting ending to everything that they gave for us. I said at the beginning of the stream that we have surmounted an unpayable debt to each and every one of them that went to Ottawa for us. And if we desecrate their good name or what's left of it by going to Parliament Hill and behaving like fools, we might as well just spit in their faces. They did it for nothing. And we've shown the Liberal government and the NDP at that point, and the Conservatives, that we're no better than what the news called us. We're no better than what we were labeled as. We're exactly what they said we were. And more. Because there will be more titles on that. Again, 10 hot dogs are close to $8. Thanks for looking after inflation. I get people are mad. I keep saying that. I understand your anger. I'm not saying you're wrong. But if anybody can give me a good argument as to why just storming Parliament Hill demanding an election is going to benefit us, I'll listen. But I haven't heard a single reasonable argument other than why not? Or, well, I want to go because. We need to be allowed to limit the number of party members and their wages and pensions. Yes, we do. It's another big expense. They are supposed to be working for us. We also have to have term limits. You can protest. You can protest. You have the right to protest. I've said it over and over on this stream. I will never tell anybody you're not allowed to protest. Go. But don't tag Tamara and Chris. Don't tag Pat King. You're going, and this is the same thing I said to this Puck Daddy. Let's take a look at the thread that went on here. I'm going to show you the stupidity. I said I wasn't going to give this jackass another shout out. And I really didn't want to. But I'm going to show you guys how this all transpired. Because if you're going to tell me that this sounds like the voice of somebody who's being reasonable, somebody who gets what's going on, then tell me this is worthy of going to Ottawa for. Here's Joe's Puck Daddy's tweet to me. Hey Fringe, I appreciate your cameo on your little YouTube channel. First off, we're almost 50,000 strong here on the channel. That's not little by any means. Sounds like somebody needs to do their homework. I've been fighting for this country for about 4.5 years, long before the convoy, long before it was cool. Maybe before you talk shit about fellow Canadians who want to see actual change in this country, know who you're speaking about. It's stuff like this as to why Canada hasn't done anything since the convoy. This is the real reason why Canada's falling. Canadians would sooner shit on people or events before supporting them. And most times it's because they didn't come up with it themselves. Yes, I'm so jealous about your stupidity decision. I'm so jealous that I can't be in Ottawa pumping up my numbers while Tamara and Chris go to jail. Bud. It's things like that. That and dude. I just can't take people seriously when they talk to you like that. I don't do this for clout, money, or friends. I do it because it's my duty. GTFO with your 15 minutes of fame garbage. I called it out on my video and said these are guys who want to get in there and get their 15 minutes of fame. They just want to live stream. They want to have something to talk about. They want to be at the head of the crowd, right? We were responsible for this. We did it. Freedom. Stand. Hold the line, everybody. Right? I said, I needed a laugh. Thank you. He said, do better, bud. Your weakness is showing. Yeah, I'm so weak. Seems to be a theme in this country. I said, you're going to get people hurt or arrested or worse. What you're doing is reckless. I'm not the one that needs to do better. People like you will be crying for a convoy or uprising in 3 months. Just you wait. I'm talking about doing something reasonable. I want to follow what Tom said. Let's protest the offices. Let's get a referendum. Let's do it in a way where they can't criminalize us, at the very least. One of my viewers chimed in saying someone has to do their homework. If you've been fighting for Canada, give us some proof and facts. I mean, it went on and on. This guy kept coming back saying, you don't understand, you don't get it. Tried gaslighting me. You're telling me that Palestinian and Hamas supporters can protest in our streets for over a year, but Canadians aren't allowed to peacefully assemble? Never once said that. Never once said that in my video. In fact, I didn't mention Palestine or Hamas or any of those protests in my video at all. So this is where the gaslighting comes in. This isn't something that I organized. I was supporting it because it's long overdue for this country to stand up. Stop pushing your fear narrative. I guess patriots in this country aren't even patriots anymore. How pathetic. I have more patriotism in my pinky finger than that guy has in his whole body. I can assure you that. Why? Because I'm not a goddamn moron. Pardon the blasphemy. I'm not going to storm Parliament Hill and get arrested while making every bit of work that we've done over the last 2.5 years irrelevant. I want real solutions, not anger. Palestine and Hamas protests are just like BLM protests. They align with the current ruling parties. Well, it's that and it's a distraction. I'm sounding unhinged. I like that one. I like that one. That's funny. I needed another laugh. Thank you. John saying these guys are idiots. I couldn't agree more. Like, those are the kind of people going to Parliament Hill. I'm here to defend my country, bruh. Woo, look at me and my flag. So what's your plan when you get there? I'm going to go demand an election. And when you don't get it, well, I'm just going to demand it more. You're not going to get it. For anybody who thinks they're going to get it, did Justin Trudeau talk to the truckers in the first Freedom Convoy? Did anyone talk to the truckers? They criminalized them. And they were organized. If you can't see that, you need to go back to kindergarten and get your education. Because I'm convinced a 5-year-old's smarter than that. Really, that's embarrassing. To gaslight and say that I'm promoting Hamas, that I'm saying you can't assemble, go get arrested. But just know when you're sitting in that jail cell, just know when you're on social media saying, oh, my bank account got frozen, I lost my job, I lost my house, I lost everything I have because I went to that stupid protest. When folks like Tamara and Chris go to jail because they were tagged in all of those posts, the rest of Canada will look at you and say, shame on you. If you're willing to risk that, go ahead. No one's saying don't protest. Just know what you're getting into. Ask yourself if what you're doing is worth it. Are we going to get results? Trudeau's a commie, becoming a member for 4 months. Ed Broadbent was the last respected NDP leader in my opinion. There you go. Katsuki Link becoming a new member of the Patriots Club. Thank you. By the way, the Patriots Club. Joe Lyman re-upping. Let's go to the polls. Get those LFGs in there. I mean, again, for anybody who wants to go to Parliament, for anybody who wants to storm Parliament demanding an election, just ask yourself, and I'm not here to try and change your mind, but just ask yourself with a little bit of common sense, what sounds more effective? Spreading out across the country where police don't have the resources, protesting the offices of all of these MPs and demanding referendum? Or do we storm Parliament Hill and demand an election in the middle of Ottawa, where they have laws set up after the Freedom Convoy to make sure that this kind of stuff never happens again? What's the more viable option? What option has more success? More possible success? I don't think either of them end with success, but one of them sure makes one hell of a statement, and one of them ends up with the rest of us being called insurrectionists and far-right extremists. See, somebody now, let's just troll interference with the Liberal Party. I don't know if that's joke or sarcasm. I don't see the problem with it because it's not illegal. What we're talking about wasn't illegal. We're not going to be labeled insurrectionists. We're not going to be labeled terrible people. We were just exercising our Canadian rights. We're Canadian citizens. I decided to become a member because it's just fair. After what I said out of rage and all, and again, I'm sorry for it. Hey, you don't have to apologize. We're all Canadian. We're all in the same boat. I appreciate you becoming a member and supporting the channel, but and that says something, by the way. I appreciate your honesty. I said it earlier. We all want the same thing. We all want Justin to go. We're all mad. We're all fed up. We're all drained. We're in overtime here. We're in double overtime, triple overtime. We're done. But if we're going to do something, we just need to try and keep our wits about us, is all I'm suggesting. It's all I'm saying. We want to troll the government? Great. There's no laws stopping us. That's fun. It's a laugh. It's taking back a little bit of control. Is it effective? Probably not. But it's still fun to do. It's still part of our God-given rights. These guys that claim on Twitter to be fighting for Canada, if they really wanted to fight for Canada, they'd want results. They wouldn't want to just scream and shout at the sky, pound their chests and say, look how cool I am. Look at me on Parliament Hill. They would want results. I want results. I want change. I want this country to be better. I want the next government to come in to fear us, to fear citizens, to say, if we screw around, we're going to F around and find out. We're going to lose our jobs. They're done. They're fed up. They're not buying what we're selling anymore. We're on notice. We're walking on eggshells for the next 4 years. That's what I want. Is it going to happen when Pierre comes in? No. No. But we got to keep pushing for it. We have to be vigilant. We have to demand accountability. Let's get this comment. The problem with Canadians is we're afraid to be unreasonable. Unless you're a commie, then you get to be unreasonable and also get your way. I understand people usually want to keep their respectfulness about them. It's part of the stereotype of being Canadian. But if we were, think about it again. Think about it again. Bunch of people cheering and screaming on Parliament Hill, or a nationwide protest in front of all these MPs' offices, calm individuals drinking their coffee, waving their flags, having their signs, laughing, cheering, saying, we want referendum, we want better laws, we want more protection for people. It's part of our democratic rights. You work for us, not the other way around. Which one sounds like we're going to get more results? Or at least have the possibility for better results? I just don't see anyone's argument to go to Parliament Hill at this point. It's not illegal to join the Liberal Party and vote. That's how to take back Alberta. Oh, that's how Take Back Alberta, Saskatchewan, and the other provinces were based on. Totally legal. Yeah, it happens all the time. Tyler with $2 super chat. Thank you. Super sticker. Thank you. Becca, $10 super chat. Just saying some original of the Freedom Convoy are waiting for Tamara and Chris trial to get it done, and how it'll end for their affect their future trial. Don't forget they're still going to trial against Zexi Lee and Paul Chump for the province of Ottawa. Their legal battles aren't over. But this Carter application that threatens to put them in jail, when you see what happened to the Coots 3, that's scary. Because all you need is the wrong judge. The wrong judge will put Tamara and Chris in jail. And if these guys go to Parliament Hill, like this moron on Twitter who says, yeah, bro, I've been defending my country for 4.5 years. I'm a patriot. Tell me one thing you've done that's worked. Tell me your list of accomplishments, you jackass. You're going to get them thrown in jail. And while you've been waving your flags on Twitter saying, everybody follow me, I'm going to Parliament Hill. Who do you think is going to be blaming who when the judge says, you guys influenced these people to go to Parliament Hill because of your first convoy? They were so influenced, they called it Freedom Convoy 2.0. I don't see where you can tell me this is worthy. Where it's viable. It's you call me a coward, call me weak, call me whatever you want. I know the difference between realistic and stupidity. Tamara's not going to jail. It's bullshit. No, it's not. If you're late, Tyler, to the stream, are you aware of the Carter application they're trying to pin on Tamara? That if it's successful, her and Chris go to jail. And I've spoken to Tamara. I've spoken to Chris. There is a possibility after what we saw happen to the Coots boys, this will go through. There's a possibility. I think it's slim, but it's still out there. And I don't rule anything out when you look at the corruption in our political system and our judiciary system in these days. Until a judge smacks the gavel and says it's over, I ain't calling nothing in the bag yet. What do I mean? I'll re-explain it. There was an injunction from Jim Watson, Mayor of Ottawa, during the Freedom Convoy. People weren't allowed to honk their horns anymore after a certain time. They were told it was disturbing the peace. Chris Barber released a a TikTok video stating to lay on the horns and all these other things. Now, he was talking during the times in which they were allowed. But of course, it's been blown out of context to try and push this Carter application, saying that Chris Barber was inciting people to break the law. He was influencing people to go against the injunctions, to break the law. And because he was on the board that Tamara was on, and because Tamara is the leader of the Freedom Convoy, labeled only in name as the leader of the Freedom Convoy, because Tamara's been labeled that, essentially what a Carter application says is she had the power to tell him not to do that. So if Chris Barber goes to jail for inciting people to break the law, Tamara Leach joins him. That's what they're trying to pull on a Carter application. One person does a crime, everybody else is linked to them, everybody else pays the same price. It is that bad. It is that bad. And that's a very viable thing right now. And again, when I first heard about the Carter application, I said the same thing as Tyler. It's not going to happen. Come on. Come on. Then I saw what happened to the Coots guys. That corrupt judge screwed their lives over. And you're going to tell me it's not going to happen to Chris and Tamara? Come on. I think after what happened to the Coots boys, there's a very large chance we could see something very, very corrupt happen to Tamara and Chris's trial, which, by the way, it's mischief. We're talking about mischief. Conspiracy to commit mischief. They don't deserve this. But I think if they have the opportunity to throw them in jail, they're going to take it. And this is why this Freedom Convoy shouldn't be going to Ottawa if they care anything about the previous Freedom Convoy. At the very least, you've got, and I'm going to show it again, because this is what started the whole bloody thing. Legally Purdy Media, I'm calling you out. She's actively trying to destroy Chris and Tamara and Pat King because they've booted her out of their circle. She's made it very obvious she wants to exploit everybody to make money. She's only in this to make money. She wants to be the top dog in the media game. She's not a media company, but Legally Purdy Media. And again, I've spoken to her in person. I've dealt with her. She has me blocked because I refuse to give her a bump. Shout out to everyone heading to Ottawa for Freedom Convoy 2.0. I'm sure you're all super grateful for the inspiration that Chris Barber, Tamara Leach, and Pat King provided with their leadership, counseling, and use of social media during the Freedom Convoy. Be sure to tag them all in your posts next week in bold. They'd be grateful because, after all, they're the leaders of the Freedom Convoy movement. This is sarcasm, and it's deliberate. She wants them framed for this protest. She's actively making sure with this post, in a very bitter nature, to frame them for being responsible for influencing this protest. She knows where this protest is going to go. She knows what's going to be happening. She knows people are going to be labeled insurrectionists. She knows what's coming. And she wants them to pay the price. This Legally Purdy Media is a cancer on social media. Even the pleb called her a "see you next Tuesday." She's a leech. She used to hang on to Tamara's trials. She used to stand outside and try to get people's comments after Tamara's legal battles. She's a leech. She just wants her 15 minutes. That's it. She wants to make money on social media. She doesn't want a real job. She's been very vocal about that, by the way. Very vocal. She used to post all over Twitter, help me grow my X platform, help me grow, because buy me a coffee, do all these things so I don't have to get a job, so I can start making media for you guys and focusing on media for everybody. I just want a free ride. Aaron becoming a member for 4 months of the Patriots Club. Love the channel, the merch, the rants. Let's hear Peter Griffin. You know what really grinds my gears? Legally Purdy Media. Bastard. She's terrible. She's terrible. She's pissed off because she's been hanging off of Chris Barber's nutsack for the last 2.5 years, trying to get one of them to put her in a spotlight. And they knew what she was after. They said, no, you're phony. You're a fraud. And amongst other things, we're not going to do it. There are other reasons they don't want anything to do with her. And I'm not going to get into those because technically it could be defamatory. It's hearsay. She's not a good person. I'm not going to say those words, but there it is on screen. Again, could be slander. That's where I say, when you look at that post, when you look at what people are talking about, this isn't just a protest. It's bait. It's a trap. Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. It is a trap. And my, I hate to say it, Puck Daddy, but my little YouTube channel is going to mop the floor with you. If you think you can go to Parliament Hill and make Chris and Tamara look terrible, and Pat, and everybody else who put their name on that docket, to stand up for our rights, to make sure that our mandates ended. What a joke. She has her own Give, Send, Go account. Well, there you go. I wasn't aware of that, but if that's the case, that tells you everything. I mean, yeah, this is why I wanted to do the live. This is why I wanted to do the live, because a lot of people took my humorous nature to say, let's form a digital convoy of sorts, a digital election convoy, to vote in the stupidest liberal because it's legal. Because I want to screw with the liberals. Why not? That was fun. This isn't fun. This is, I keep going in circles with it. I keep going in circles with it. I keep rambling. I'm sorry. We're almost 2 hours in. I'm rambling because I'm so passionate about it. So passionate about it. I don't want to see anything bad happen to Chris and Tamara. They're my friends. Like, look at this jagoff. This is Puck Daddy. LFG Canada. Let's go. Let's go, man. This guy's all over social media. Getting called out by tons of people as a Fed. Here it is. Here's government.exe is corrupt. This is a good Twitter account. I like them. I would just like to say thank you to all the people who supported the idea of exercising their right to protest prorogation. Like everything these days, it became polarized way too quickly. I wonder why. CPC supporters were accusing me of working for PPC. PPC reporters are accusing me of working for our parties, etc., etc. It's all blowing up. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. The strong men need to create the good times again. Does this look like a strong man to you? This looks like a beta. This looks like a beta cuck. I don't even like using that word, but look at that. I don't want to be crude, but that guy looks like he couldn't get laid with a borrowed dick. Give me a break. This is the guy who wants to storm Parliament Hill and look like a hero. What a weak. He could call me weak. That's weak. That's weak. Nothing what he said makes sense? Of course, because he's an idiot. He's a plant? I mean, Mike Freedom Honey thinks so. Mike's a pretty intelligent guy. WSR called her out many times. I'm assuming you're talking about Legally Purdy. I don't like being so crude, and I know it's not usual for me, but this guy's an idiot. He just wants his 15 minutes, and he says, "Get out of here, man." He says, "Your little YouTube channel. I got more followers than him on Twitter. I gotta. Come on, how many?" I'm not gonna have a dick measuring contest with a moron. I'm just not. I can't. Tyler, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. Put a message in there next time. Yeah, Colleen saying he wants his 15 minutes of fame. I don't want to be a drama channel. I don't want to call people out. But what we're talking about here, again, I will only say it one more time. If you don't believe that as soon as somebody stands foot on Wellington or in front of Parliament with all those Canadian flags and saying they're Convoy 2.0, I guarantee you, CBC, Global, CTV, they're all going to be there. And they're all going to immediately say, this is reminiscent of January 6th and the insurrectionists that overtook Congress. And we'll be screwed. We'll be screwed. All our work will be undone. Or we can be smart. And losers like these people, like Legally Purdy and whatever the other guy's name is, I don't even remember. He's that irrelevant. They're all losers. There's my Donald Trump. They're all losers. They don't know how to they don't know how to protest. They don't know how to go to Parliament Hill. They don't know how to demand for laws to change. They're probably eating dogs. They're eating cats. A lot of people love when I do Trump. A lot of people love it. They love when we bring out the Donald on stream. They love when we do it on videos. I think my Donald Trump's off, but I got to tell you, a lot of people love it. This is the primary reason I did this stream. Tamara and Chris will be screwed. I've only met Pat King over a live stream I did with Shadow Davis, where Pat joined the stream and we didn't really have a chance to chat. But Chris and Tamara are friends. And I'd be doing them a terrible disservice if I wasn't up here saying, for the love of God, leave them out of it. Tro's a commie $2 super chat. Patriots go to jail due to dictatorship. But these aren't patriots. These are people going to be shit disturbers. They're going to Parliament Hill to discuss a lot of problems, believe me. They're going to be labeled insurrectionists. They're going to be told they were overtaking Parliament just a little bit. Justin Trudeau will come out waving his socks at people saying, I surrender. It's not going to happen. I'm going to squeeze Canada, and rightly so. Those of us that don't understand austerity are going to get gutted. Believe me, it's happening. You guys are fired. 51st state. We're tired of the BS. They're probably going to eat. They're going to be eating the dogs. They're going to be eating the cats. Thank you for the $2 super chat, Tyler. I appreciate it. Half-baked idea spit out by a lazy Fed. There it is. There it is. That sums up the stream in one sentence. That's what we should have called this. The stream should have been called Half-Baked Idea laid out by a Fed. Ladies and gents, it's been a late stream. I appreciate each and every one of you sitting in here. Let's end on a fun note. Maybe we'll throw some more impressions into the stream. Maybe we'll talk a little more fun. Let's close up with some Q&A. Let's get some Q&A in the chat. We always end with Q&A. I think it's a lovely way to end the stream. We got a whole lot of questions coming in. Some really good questions from people. Throw your questions in. Ask me anything, as long as it's civil, as long as it's not trolling. If it's appropriate, I'll try to answer all of the questions that we can. People asking for the Troll Convoy live stream. We're not going to be trolling the live stream. We're going to stay away from it. We don't want to be labeled insurrectionists. We don't want to have any part of it. Favorite supercar? Camaro. It's a Camaro. I love Camaros. I'm going to get one. What is Purdy's real name? If I knew it, I still wouldn't say it because it's not fair. I'm not gonna dox anybody or out them. Thought on the California fires and Jasper fires. Well, I had a video talking about a lot of the problems with California fires, namely DEI hires. In contrast to the Jasper fires, look, they've already talked about low density housing rebuilds in Los Angeles. When you hear about DWs, when you hear about everything that happened in Jasper, you can't tell me all this isn't planned. It's just too convenient. California burns every single year, yet they don't have the water. They don't have all these things that are just magically missing when it happens. I don't want to sound like Alex Jones or any of my tinfoil hat, but I mean, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Thoughts on Danielle at Mar-a-Lago with O'Leary? I had a video out about that yesterday. Go check that out. I've got another great video coming up about Danielle Smith in response to Melanie Jolie tomorrow. Check that out. Marika jumping in. How you doing? Welcome into the stream. Great to have you here. Ginger Snap saying, unacceptable fringe. I love watching you and your wife. That's kind of creepy. At least $49.99 a minute if you want to watch that kind of action. You can sign up for Only Fringe. It only costs $49.99 a minute. Head over to onlyfringe.com. Get your memberships. Get your popcorn. Prepare to be grossed out. You'll be so sickened by what you see of unacceptable fringe, you'll be eating dogs and eating cats. I appreciate it. Thank you. You've outright said that just because another channel said something is true, it doesn't mean it is. What are you talking about? Please be a little more clear on that. I stand my ground. I'm just missing what you're getting at there. I'll try and find your comment if you reiterate what you're talking about there. And I'll try to understand what you're asking for a little bit better there. I want to see you play pinball bare ass butt naked. It's not going to happen. Who'd want to see that? Come on. Scare the women and kids would start asking questions. Celtic Canuck joining us on the live stream. Only Fringe is real. It's not real. Come on. Celtic, welcome in. It's good to have you here. Money Minion, $10 super chat. All this unacceptable chat. Love the Fringe. Love the drama. I appreciate it, Money Minion. Thank you for the this super chat. You fired. Who asked the question earlier that I stand my ground? Let's see if I stand my ground. Reiterated what he was saying. I don't see it in there. What if JT prorogued Parliament to anger Canadians and push them to have a Freedom Convoy 2.0 so he can put more people in jail? Just a thought. It was mentioned earlier that it was all done to delay another election. Again, all of those things don't, like, I know they're all what ifs and they're all conspiracies, but when you start putting variables like that, again, that should just confirm how stupid it is to go to Parliament Hill. That what we're talking about is really dumb. Isn't it? Like, I'm not saying that that's the cause, but nothing that the government does these days shocks me. It wouldn't shock me if that happened. The pay might be good. It's not enough. It's not enough. You guys can't afford me. I can guarantee that. In your past streams, not against you. Yeah, but what did I say specifically? Give me something I said specific. That's like saying in one of your streams you talked about a guy at the place with the thing. I don't know what you're referring to. If you tell me what I was talking about, I'll know what you mean and I'll get it. I stand my ground. Just be a little more specific. I'll get to your question. I will not end the stream before I get to your question. I promise. Do you think that our premier will make a big difference except for us in Alberta? I think she's making a good headway distance because what she's doing is showing she's got the balls to go and negotiate with the new incoming president, where the rest of the federal government doesn't. She's a prime example of what leadership looks like. I think if anything, she's going to help Alberta, and I think it's going to help. Her chances of moving into a federal position. I don't want to share Danielle with anybody though. I want her to stay in Alberta. What are your average gas prices in your area? $1.50, $1.50. Although it's $1.50 right across the street from my house, but if I go down to the reservation where our Costco is, which is a 5-minute drive, $1.30. So I usually go down there to fill up. Camaro must have a manual transmission. Well, yeah. The truffle shuffle, not happening. Not happening. I'm a happily married man. I don't want to make the ladies jealous of what they don't have. It's not happening. I can't wait to vote blue again. I'm done with blue liberal Doug Ford. Well, who isn't? Doug Ford's he's a federalist and he's a wannabe. He's a closet liberal. Doug Ford isn't a conservative. Smith after PP would be amazing. Canada's female Trump. I'd love to see Danielle be prime minister, honestly. Isn't it past your bedtime? Maybe a little. Maybe a little. But you guys are worth it, Dustin. Thanks for popping in. Jesus. I wish Danielle was our conservative leader. I don't want to share her with you guys. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Okay? All right. Did you move yet? No, we're planning to do it in the spring. House, the market went awry in Calgary and we just pulled off the market so we could have Christmas with the kids at the house. We're probably going to get the house back in the market late February, early March. Then we'll move. Keep your ears to the lines. We'll keep you posted. We'll let everybody know when we're moving. I didn't see I stand my ground being more clear. I'm still waiting for that. I stand my ground. If you're still in the chat, tell me what you were talking about because now I really want to know. Miss Fringe needs a crown. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to get into my personal business, but I'm going to share something with you guys while I wait for I stand my ground. The last year in this house has been one of the most difficult years I've ever seen since I met Tiffany, and I've known Tiffany since I was 17 years old. I met her in high school. The things that we've been through in the last year as a family have been earth-shatteringly eye-opening. Now, that doesn't mean it happened to this family. It was just things this family absorbed, things this family was around, things that have absolutely shaken the foundation of our family. And I'm telling you right now, She deserves far more than a crown. Mrs. Fringe puts up with a lot. There's a reason I married her. There's a reason I married her. And how do I say this? I don't think I'd be where I am today if I didn't have somebody as strong as her standing next to me. There's a reason I brought her onto the show. There's a reason I know you guys like having her around. She's a wonderful person to talk to. She's fabulous. Believe me, she's one of the best. Bringing her onto the show just shows a fraction of the kind of person she is. I'll tell you right now that through all the hardships, throughout the trials, the tribulations, the turmoil, throughout the nonsense that I put her through, being a man-child in his 40s, I am the luckiest son of a bitch on the planet to have Mrs. Fringe next to my side. And I wouldn't change that for anything in the world. And I'm so grateful that we're almost celebrating 2 decades of marriage. We have 3 beautiful children, and a crown is an understatement. She deserves a castle, a crown, a kingdom. She is my queen. I've told her that many times, and I put her on a pedestal. And no matter what happens in this world, she will always remain on that pedestal. And I am eternally grateful that she agreed to marry an idiot like me and stick around this long. But it gives me hope that other idiots can find women just as good. And luck out, because I definitely lucked out. She's 1 in a million. Jerry with a $5 super chat. What kind of protections do you think could be put in place to avoid another king like Trudeau? Too many tools available in office to avoid accountability. Again, we were talking about, Jerry, if you're just getting into the stream, that's part of what I was talking about as an alternative to what this Freedom Convoy 2.0 is. I think that's a start. I appreciate all the nice comments you got. You guys are really nice to Mrs. Fringe. I stand my ground. You didn't clear up what you were talking about. I'm her world? I hope so. I hope so. But I'll tell you, it's funny. I was talking to my daughter today. I know this is getting a little off subject, but I was talking to my daughter today about it because we were talking about high school, and we were talking about how things change in high school. And I was telling her about when I first met my wife. I've talked about it on stream before, but I said to my daughter today, it was like time stopped the first time I seen her. I still remember the outfit she was wearing, the time of day, where we were, what happened. And she finds it so amazing that after almost 30 years, I still remember that day like it was yesterday. And it was like time stopped. Like I had the time to sit there and analyze everything that was going on. When they say that you meet somebody that you think is that one for you, your one true love, that it's like time stops, and I can vouch that when you do meet that person, it happens. And my daughter says, "No, it doesn't." She said, "Time doesn't stop. That's stupid." And I said, "Your mom gave me this huge scowl because she didn't like me at first." And my daughter said, "Of course she gave you a scowl. She probably thought, what an idiot. He thinks time can stop." I love my kids. They're the best. Ange, the $5 super chat. She's your rock and you're hers. We can all see you two love each other, the love you have for each other, and it's inspiring for the rest of us. I appreciate that. My old man, the day I got married, the day of my wedding, my old man said, "I'm going to give you some advice before you get married." He says, there's 3 arguments in life you're never going to win: religion, politics, and everything else. And it stands true. But the one thing he's always told me about marriage that I've valued since knowing Tiffany, since knowing that's the woman I'm going to marry, is that you only do it once. You should only do it once. There's people out there that have done it multiple times. They're happy. I'm not saying you're wrong. But for me personally, it was, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it once. And I'm going to make sure that when things get hard, I'm sticking around. we don't just throw in the towel. We don't quit easily. And we've been through some shit. Like, we've been through some real tough shit. And times where I thought she's going to pack a bag and go, she hasn't. Because we both understand the value of marriage. We both understand the value each other brings to the table. And we both know that without each other, we'd fall apart. That's how you make a marriage work. You don't quit when it gets hard. You stick it out. You do the work. I know, Marika, see, and that's fine. If you're happy, that's fine. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. It's your wife and you really love each other. I hope the best for you and your children in these times. I appreciate that. Guys, you guys are too kind. I really do appreciate it. I wish I could give your wife a big hug. She seems so compassionate. I'd get jealous, for one. I get jealous very easily. She is. She's extremely compassionate. Again, she puts up with an idiot like me. You watch what I do on this channel, and you guys only see a portion of me. Imagine having to listen to me 24 hours a day. The fact that I'm still here and I haven't gone missing on a camping trip shocks me. Shocks me. She puts up with a lot. Jerry makes a good point. Parliamentary rules need to be reviewed to prevent further narcissistic idiot dictators from getting that much power again. Again, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about instead of doing Convoy 2.0. Let's protest in front of the offices. Let's demand more. Let's demand referendum. New laws. Power in numbers. Let's just do it legally. We've got some great plans for protests. We've got some great plans to get out there and start putting out our words and making sure people understand what we want from Governor Justin Trudeau. But we have to do it legally. That's all I'm saying. Legally. My point was brought up specifically in past videos of yours about possible government paid accounts. Okay. So a lot of people said that earlier. Yes. So what he's referring to, I'm assuming I stand my ground as a he. Sorry if I've misgendered. I was given some information from other YouTubers that there are possibilities of there possibly other YouTube channels that are being paid by the Conservative Party, that they understand that this is where the narrative is. They understand that this is where people get their media from, their news. That there were possible channels that are being approached and being told that they'll pump up their numbers, they'll pay them, they'll make sure that they have very healthy YouTube careers, so long as when they do things that piss off people, they push the narrative just like CBC and CTV and all these companies do for Trudeau. And I'm not saying it's true. And that's why I haven't called out the channels. That's why I haven't asked the channels that I've been told. But there are grounds of the information I've been given that lead me to believe there's a possibility. Because again, I'm in contact with Conservative MPs. I have spoken with Pierre's people before. I've been very vocal that I'm not interested in being on said list because I have to have a bias. I have to be willing to tell people the truth. That's what I'm here for. I hate the government. Do I want Pierre to be prime minister? Yes, but I still hate the government. So I'll be here talking about how much I hate the government until people tell me to get off this platform for good. But I'm not taking any handouts out to march to somebody else's fife. That's not how it works. And all I have stated in other streams is that whatever they tell you, take it with a grain of salt. Do your research. Think for yourselves. It's the same thing I asked on this live stream tonight. We all think for ourselves. I'm not telling you not to go protest in Freedom Convoy 2.0. I'm just saying, think about it. Before you go, think about the reality. What am I getting into? What does this mean for my safety? What does this mean moving ahead? For Canada, what are we going to be labeled as? You got to look at all of that. You got to be smart about this stuff. Okay? That's all I'm saying. But make up your own minds. If I get this information verified about these other channels, you're damn right I'll be outing them. I will out any channel that steps over the line. Not because I want to cause drama, but because it's fair to the viewers, that they know what you know what you're buying, you know what you're getting, right? You know who you're getting your information from and what biases they have. I believe that if a political party is going to pay you to toe the line for them, you should have to disclose that in your videos. I think you should have to disclose it no different than when you have paid promotion in a video and say, look, I reviewed this product, but they sent it to me for free. So my reflection on this product might be compromised due to the fact that they've paid me to review their products. It should be the same when the Conservative Party is paying you to toe the line for them. They don't have those rules in place, though. So all I've told people is until we confirm those things, and I've passed that information around amongst other YouTubers as well, trying to find out if they think this is true or where I might be able to get better information to back up these claims. I've talked to MPs in the Conservative Party to ask them how I can find out more information. Still waiting to get those answers back because, believe it or not, they are busy. It's not like I have a speed dial to these people. I mean, I have phone numbers for these people, but there's more pressing things for them to do. So as soon as I find out, believe me, you guys will know. You guys will know. But just keep your eyes open. That's what we're all here for. We're all here because we want a better Canada. We want a better future. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I stand my ground. Thank you for clearing that up. Because it is important to talk about. I want to thank each and every individual, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, for hanging out in tonight's stream. If you're watching this afterwards, if you disagree with me, that's okay. You're allowed to. Call me weak, call me unpatriotic, call me whatever you want. I'm just saying, before we go in hot-headed, can we just look at where we stand to gain the most and be sensible about things? That's it. I'm not saying you can't protest. I'm not saying don't stand your ground. I'm not saying don't do what you feel is right. Don't bring others into it. Please, for the love of God, leave Tamara, Chris, and Pat and those others in the Freedom Convoy out of it. Please, for the love of God. Anybody who's calling me out on social media, I'm going to say right now, I will not be replying. I will not be jumping into it. I'm not having drama wars. I'm not going to give people attention that don't deserve it. Legally Purdy, you're officially on notice. You may have blocked me, but there are other ways of getting information on Twitter, okay? And I'm going to be going after you on Twitter. I'm going to be following every post you put out there on the platform, and I'm going to be making sure at the end of the day, Legally Purdy, you're fired. We're going to make sure that we keep an eye on Legally Purdy. Anything she's posting out, we're going to have a trail going. If she is going to try to desecrate the names of Tamara, Chris, and Pat King, I will be doing everything in my power to make sure that her channel crumbles and that we smear the ashes celebratorily when it's done. They are heroes and they don't deserve what they're being put through. Other than that, please exercise your rights to protest. Just do it legally, do it lawfully. I hope you guys understand what I meant through this long rant of a stream, this 2-hour rant of a stream. But again, I will not be addressing. I'll address Tyler, the $2 super chat. Stay away from more drama. I couldn't agree more. But I won't be addressing the trolls. I won't be addressing any of this stuff because I'm not going to give attention where it isn't earned or it isn't deserved. If anybody ever wants to talk about these things again on live stream, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to tag me on X. If you're just wanting to chat and have a discussion or debate, hey, I'm all for that. But as soon as you start saying bro, dude, you start talking nonsense, name calling, I'm out. I'm sorry. This is Canada. I'm a respectable individual. I will treat people the way I want to be treated until otherwise treated differently. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to have a good night. Keep your stick on the ice. Usually we do a stream on Wednesdays. Sometimes when I do midweek streams, there will be no stream this Wednesday because I've already committed my evening to my kids. So I will not be live until Friday. Make sure to join me Friday night for Friday Night Fringe here at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central. The very beautiful and vivacious Mrs. Fringe will be sitting next to me telling me how amazing I am after she heard my very, very um, kind words that I pushed towards her tonight. At least I hope so. I hope to see you all in those streams. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please hit it. We need subscribers more now than ever, especially with suppression on the way. I'd like to hit 50,000 by the end of the month. Can we do that, please? Can you guys hit that subscribe button? Hit the channel. We want you to. And I'll see you guys Friday night. Keep your stick on the ice, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for joining me. Look forward to Danielle Smith tomorrow here on the channel. Keep your eyes open. Make sure to comment, like, share it out. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care. Have a good night, everybody.